And so, Prof. Piagetua and Bafo, I will plead with you to listen to these two politicians, and then I'll take your brief final thoughts, including whether you think if this was the general feeling in the country that somebody has to be punished when it comes to the electorate voting for their MPs, as was said in the Ken Must Go crusade. Yes, Felix, what's the conversation like within the NDC? Rickett Hagan says he's very sad. He hasn't slept all night. Many of your members appear to be saying the same thing. What happened? Fifi Kwete had promised the world that there was a system to ensure that everybody, complied with the whip.
Well, I mean, those who express disappointment have every cause to do so. But let me begin by placing it on record that the leadership and general membership of the NDC remains implacably opposed to the obnoxious policies of this unhinged, reckless, and in some instances, utterly useless government that has become an albatross around our neck. And many of the things that this government has done has met with the disapproval of large sections of the Ghanaian population.
And they depend on you. If they depend on you and you fail them, what's the point?
I'm about to make the point. First of all, the Ghanaian people too have a responsibility to watch who they elect into office. You see, you cannot go and elect a useless government and shift the burden on policing them on another party.
There's a reason there's opposition.
Yes, but there's a reason why you also have the opportunity to vote. Nobody can tell me that there wasn't sufficient reason to give pause to the electorate not to elect President Akufo-Addo. People like myself, for the better part of a decade, have railed against him and spoken about the fact that he is going to do exactly what he is doing in power. Some people labeled us babies with sharp teeth, vilified us, and called us all sorts of names, and somehow went to elect him. Today, he is living the worst governance ever seen under the Fourth Republic, if not in our entire history. So the electorate too must take their share of the burden. That when you see that a leader is wrong and cannot govern, you don't go and elect him.
The electorate must be commended that last night you had equal numbers.
I'll make the point.
You failed as an opposition.
I'll make the point.
If you think that the pulse of the nation was to vote against this.
I'll make the point. But you see, the pulse of the nation should have been to reject Akufo-Addo at the polls, especially after what he did between 2016 and 2020. If that had been done, we would not be having this conversation. You see, what President Akufo-Addo has done is blue murder. He has destroyed our country. When it comes to our economy, we are a laughing stock. He has reduced us in the eyes of well-meaning people around the world.
We'll talk about the economy for now. We are talking about the failure of the opposition in Parliament.
But what is even more shocking is that after destroying the economy, he decides that he will do absolutely nothing to stop what caused the destruction. One of them is an exceptionally bloated government that is not efficient and that in many respects we could have done without. Now, I agree entirely that with the numbers that we have in Parliament as a party, we have the capacity, at the very least, to put spokes in the wheels of this government when it decides to misrule and misgovern in the manner that they are doing. That is why the national leadership of the NDC and various sections of the party made the effort to engage our parliamentarians. You see, people speak as though the leadership of the party sat at our Adabaka office and issued the fiat. I am aware of engagements with the MPs by leading lights in our party to impress upon them the need to toe this line. You see, the MPs do not even need that sort of engagement to come to the realization that what President Akufo-Addo is doing in terms of the size of his government is untenable, and that we cannot have a situation where, in the midst of the suffering that we are going through, his own inability to pay old men.
I'm hearing excuses from you.
No, I'm not.
That I think that those listening should not take.
There's no excuse. No.
Because
but why are you making excuses?
If you have equal numbers, if you have equal numbers last night,
but you have not made me.
And you cannot cannot do the work of the opposition. And the president is still capable of doing everything except change a man into a woman. Then you are useless opposition.
It is the president and his government who are useless. They are the ones who have plunged us into this gap. I don't know of any jurisdiction in the world where the opposition is held accountable for the uselessness of a government. You see, and don't encourage that narrative. The government must take responsibility for the terrible things they are doing. I am making the point that yes, we in the opposition have capacity at the very least to put spokes in the wheels of government so they don't do the things they are doing. The leadership of the NDC took steps to ensure that. Apart from the leadership of the NDC, there are very prominent figures within the party that also took steps to ensure that that is done. I am saying that the MPs themselves, even without prompting or prodding, should have been aware that the right thing to do was to vote against these ministerial nominees. Not because there was anything wrong with the personnel, the specific individuals, but because it was the only way to create a stalemate that will compel President Akufo-Addo to climb down from his ivory tower and stop the useless governance. Unfortunately, there appears to be a handful of MPs who believe that it is right to aid the destruction of our country. And so for varied reasons, they decided that in spite of the clear common sense position that they should have taken, they will go and assist President Akufo-Addo to get away with the blue medal. Indeed, this morning there have been all manner of things said. Some have claimed, I do not have proof of it, that there was monetary inducement. Others have described it as a revolt against the new leadership, or if you like, a protest against the way that the leadership changes were effected. Others too have said that they did not like the fact that there was some, if you like, directive from the party. Something. None of these three excuses is tenable. Because at the very least, the constituents who put the MPs in power or put them in parliament expect that they will be represented. And you and I know, without even any scientific research, at least if the commentary that has been done publicly by various sections of our people is anything to go by, you know that people are very, very much opposed to the way that this government is bloated, and therefore expected that the MPs would act in a manner that was consistent with their aspirations and expectations if President Akufo-Addo would not do what he has to do. But unfortunately, they were let down by a handful of our MPs. But if you check the pattern of voting, an overwhelming majority of our MPs voted against the ministerial nominees, which then suggests that the NDC as a corporate body, as an entity, cannot be said to support the misrule and misgovernance that is going on. It is the case that we have a few faith columnists who do not appear to understand that it is not in the interest of the country, and I'm not saying the NDC, because really this is not a case where the NDC is simply deciding to do politics by frustrating government on a legitimate exercise. This is an instance where the NDC is aligning with the general sentiment of the Ghanaian people. But a few people let us down. Again, the nature of the vote.
If it is actually the case,
but that is the case,
that the so-called majority was trading with the NDC, the CI that you are so vehemently opposed, and on the back of that, you were willing to support them. Where is the principle?
First of all, I'm not aware of any so-called trading that has gone on anyway. Anybody with evidence of this can put it forward. In any event, are we not told that the EC is an independent body? So if the EC is independent, what trading is the EC interested in?
No, the thing is now in Parliament. It is
what
Parliament that will determine whether there will be...
Parliament cannot touch the EC.
It is only Parliament. That Parliament can.
But the CI cannot be amended by Parliament, can it?
It cannot be, can be rejected.
Yes.
Yes. So Parliament has the power.
The point I'm making is that I'm not aware of any trading that is going on in respect of a CI. What I do know is that the people of Ghana do not want President Akufo-Addo to continue with the useless governance. So they expect that having voted for him and having regard to the fact that he does not respect them, does not think that he has to govern properly, and does not even realize that in the midst of crisis, you must do what is right to get it out of them.
It must be good reason that the people of Ghana gave you a hand parliament.
No, but as for the point,
gave you a speaker of parliament, so to speak.
No, the speaker of parliament was elected by MPs.
I hear you.
Indeed, MPs people too contributed to it. But the point I'm making is that as for that excuse that you seek to make for President Akufo-Addo, that he is to be absolved of blame, and that the NDC should be blamed, it is not tenable. It's not something I'm going to ever agree with.
Nobody has said that. I'm only saying that the opposition also has a duty.
Absolutely. But the bigger duty lies
with the government. You cannot say, right, thank you.
The opposition did not choose the number of ministers President Akufo-Addo had. We cannot bear responsibility for it. But of course, we can contribute towards stopping him.
Okay.
There has been a failure yesterday. But I'm saying that it does not represent the position of the NDC as an opposition.
Okay.
So we need to isolate the faith columnists who did this. And that is exactly
so what will happen? What will happen?
Well, the way that the voting goes, it is difficult to determine who did what. But if there's any opportunity to determine who did what and sanction it, I'm sure that the party will take it. And indeed, the sort of backlash that they themselves will receive from their constituents will be sufficient basis for them to refrain from this going forward.
Thank you. Ricky.